The Vietnam War, one of the most atrocious wars in modern history. It left millions dead and many more fleeing from a war-torn home. It began due to a fierce rivalry between the United States of America and the Soviet Union, or USSR. This rivalry led to multiple proxy wars throughout Asia, such as the Korean War and the Vietnam War. Vietnam during this time was in a state of unsettlement due to the Northern Vietnamese regime supporting communism, while the Southern Vietnamese regime wanted to continue practicing capitalism. Southern Vietnam was also led by a Christian leader, which conflicted with the many Buddhist citizens. Northern Vietnam's support towards communism convinced the Soviet Union to provide support to them during the war. The United States feared the growth of communism, which forced them to support South Vietnam during the war. Northern Vietnam had a much larger presence in Vietnam during the time, which allowed them to topple Southern Vietnam in their capital, Saigon, which was renamed to Ho Chi Minh City after the U.S. pulled out of the war and Saigon fell. Many of Southern Vietnam's people supported the capitalist reforms, which made them enemies of the people of Northern Vietnam. They were forced to flee the country or face punishment for treason. These refugees mainly escaped Vietnam through rafts made of common materials in order to reach international waters. There they would hope for passing ships to pick them up and bring them somewhere else. These refugees, known as boat people, would then apply for citizenship in countries like the United States, Germany, and Australia. One of these refugees, known as Vinh Thi Nguyen, experienced a similar story to these refugees. Born in Saigon, Vietnam near the end of the war, Vinh Thi lived his early childhood with his parents and two siblings at the time. His family was poor due to the war forcing his father to draft for the Southern Vietnamese army, while his mother would be forced to work at low-paying jobs in order to raise her three children. Once the war ended and the communist regime began to take power, Vinh Thi's parents realized the truly dire situation they were put in, due to his father having ties to the United States military. The family was forced to sell all of their valuable possessions to purchase two seats for Vinh Thi and his father on a raft to escape to international waters. The rest of the family would be left behind for now. Vinh Thi's father was able to apply for citizenship for the United States, but would have to escape Vietnam to go there. The raft they were on was filled with 20 people who each wanted to escape the life they were put into. Luckily for them, once they reached international waters, a tanker headed towards Singapore picked the refugees up and brought them to a refugee camp in Singapore. The two would stay there for 6 months until they'd be allowed to come to America. They chased after America because of the almost universal idea that America was the place for opportunity. But they still faced many hardships in America. Vinh Thi had to adapt to this foreign land and begin his education late compared to the other kids. His father had to work odd jobs due to him not having any background in others. But they were not alone. Vinh Thi still recalls the day he stepped foot into Little Saigon in Westminster. All of the people he met were connected through the Vietnamese culture, which lived through their food, traditions, and customs. He talked to other survivors of the war and their experience escaping Vietnam. He enjoyed the food and nostalgia from a place far away. Little Saigon to him brought all the good memories of Vietnam to him, without the fear of communist regime. It would always have a place in his heart. Through all this, I began to learn the true privilege I was given being born into a wealthy family who came from nothing. I didn't have to endure my parents' hardships, nor did I have to adapt to a foreign land. I was spoiled throughout my life and given an infinite amount of opportunities to chase after. My parents did not have this. I also began to truly understand the entire situation revolving around the Vietnam War, how it evolved to even affect me to this day. I truly learned to appreciate the life I was given.